Hey everybody, this is Cyrus. Welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, and I am reporting to you from the white city of Udaipur. It's the third desert kingdom I've been to. Jaipur was the pink city, Jodhpur was the blue city, and Udaipur is the white city. So this used to be the kingdom of Mewar. This was a major state in the pre-unified India, and like the other states, had a tendency to go to war with everybody else, usually pretty awful. But this is a very glamorous area. It always has been. Today it's a lakeside resort city. You can actually see in the distance the lakeside palace, or the lake palace I should say, which you can take a boat over there for about $4 or $5, and you can also stay there as a hotel, and it costs about one arm and one leg. You know, I think I was facing the wrong direction. I think that's the lake palace, or maybe there's two palaces, or maybe that's the hotel, maybe that's the palace. I'm not so sure, but it's both really glamorous, and up above is the steps leading up to the city palace of Udaipur, which is humongous. Definitely rivals any of the European palaces, and there's a lot of history here. And so, what am I talking about today? Well, something very interesting that I've learned through not just my own astral projection experiences, but also, I think much more so, learning about other people's, as well as just the whole process of direct spirit communication, is the idea that this opens up levels of history that we could never imagine. Now, I know not everybody chooses to believe in the Leslie Flint recordings and some of the physical mediumship types of subjects, but there lies in those subjects a lot of, pretty wild claims. Historical figures, Winston Churchill, all these guys coming through. Now, I know not everybody chooses to believe in that. And even I, with all the research I've done, I struggle with the concept sometimes that some of those guys have successfully come through and been able to share their wisdom with us. However, I think it's much more feasible when it comes to exploring astral states. And I can say that a little bit because people I know who are much more proficient than I am, they have a lot of wild claims about being able to go to astral locations where it's pretty much like living history. So on this side of the veil, the wearing of time and entropy destroys empires. But if we talk about what we call the astral earth, the kind of the first layer, if you will, but the most prolific and populated area of what we kind of loosely call this, quote, afterlife, this other dimension, then it's essentially a point where all the history of this world is dumped into that world. So a king of Udaipur passes away. Where does he go? Well, he continues to rule Udaipur from the other side of the veil, although it wouldn't necessarily be this Udaipur. Hi.
What do you say?
Hi.
Where are you from?
I'm doing a video right now, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So they continue to perhaps continue on that side of the veil where the political relationships and the history and the the existence of these kingdoms and realms and people all continue. Now, I'm not saying that people just continue in their kingdoms forever. I think every individual eventually moves on. But that being said, at least from my own experiences, it certainly seems like there is a continuance of this world that lasts at least several hundred years, maybe even longer. And there's, in my opinion, nothing stopping entities who live on that side from going back to their old way of life, to be able to teach people or talk to people. For example, ancient Roman emperors, or of course the great historical figures or religious figures, be that Buddha or Jesus. But personally, I would have the most interest in historical figures dating back to Roman times, dating back to Greek times, Egyptian times, and also Indian times. So I think all of that is possible if we were able to finally reach a point someday when we kind of burst open the doors between this world and the next. So whether that's through technology, whether that's through ITC and EVP and those types of things, or some other method, or maybe some technology that allows astral travel to become easier, whatever it may be. If we can reach that point, we could potentially be opening a door into history, into the lives of countless millions, billions even, who have passed on before us and who may be there ready, willing, and waiting to share their stories with us if we just were to get the correct amount of technology or sophistication that would allow us to be able to do something like that. And we see it a little bit if you are to believe the work of Sonia Rinaldi, which by the way I do, because it's panned out as on an investigation level. It seems highly credible to me that her advanced ITC methods have legitimacy, and amongst that is the personality of Nikola Tesla, who maintains his presence and is active in attempting to help bust open that veil, keeping two worlds apart, which that itself is part of living history, in the sense that Tesla is one of the most important figures in modern history in the development of our society. And the concept that Nikola Tesla is still alive and willing to work with and communicate with us, then if that is true, then what would be holding us back is just our ability to believe that it's possible. And if we can get over that and enhance those communications, imagine what we can learn from individuals who have transitioned to the astral version of Earth, where they have continued their lives for sometimes centuries past when their third density, third dimensional life ended here, and they've moved back to what I think most would consider to be the real world, which is the other side. So, by the way, please hit that subscribe button if you like what you're hearing, if you like these crazy out there supernatural topics. If you don't like this kind of stuff, then you can hit the dislike button, you can get out of here, it's fine. But that is what we talk about on this channel, and it's what I talk about in my books. And a lot of it's really wild, difficult for, quote, normies, as I speak about in the last video, to comprehend. By the way, there's a nice view of the mountainsides. There's probably some cool temples up there. I wish it wasn't so damn hot. If it wasn't so hot, maybe I'd be able to go hiking and explore the countryside. That's what I really love the most, is the unseen history in an environment just in the countryside. And when the weather is this hot, you don't really get the opportunity to go hiking and exploring some of those types of places, which is disappointing to me. But definitely I need to come back here someday when the weather is back down to something reasonable, like in the winter months. It's like 75 Fahrenheit, which is like 25 Celsius. It's perfect. Anyway, so whether it's living history or unseen history or whatever it may be, that is one of the most interesting elements to me about this whole subject, is the possibility of being able to tap into that. And just like many other subjects, I think that the reason it isn't already fully tapped into is that there's an element of free will involved. So unless somebody has practices the free will to obtain that knowledge, then it's not going to be just given to us. So it's not something that is necessarily a easy thing to do. But I have spoken to people who practice astral projection. They have claimed to have been in the audiences of very powerful historical figures, and I'm talking about ancient emperors and people of that nature, and who are interested in the idea that there is a projector, somebody coming from this world who can report back to this world about that side, just being able to do that is rare enough that I think it attracts enough attention that astral projectors on this side end up in the audiences of people like that. I myself, I had an experience where I talk about my first book, Understanding Life After Death, with the famous occultist Aleister Crowley, who basically sought me out for the work that I was doing and had been doing, and my sudden foray into OBEs, and I had a absolutely, totally no doubt in my mind interaction with this personality. And through that, I experienced a kind of living history. Now, I'm a bit neutral on the subject of who and what he is and what he represents. And I know not everything that he represents is that positive, but that's okay, because I had a chance to talk to him for about 20 minutes. And this is one of my early OBE experiences, and I've actually had many more since then, although this is one of the more famous encounters that I had, which again I talk about in my first book, Understanding Life After Death. So that's pretty much my main point here, is that this whole subject can be a gateway into a kind of living history that exists and makes you realize that everything that dies off and disappears in this world and is relegated into just the lost annals of society can come back again and be found on the other side once we are willing to open up that book, crack open that veil, and take a look. So we'll see how that goes. So again, please hit that subscribe button if you like what I have to say, and if you want to support the work I do, I encourage you to become a patron. It can as little as $3 a month, helps keep me able to do things like write books, do videos, moderate a huge Facebook group, do my classes, and a host of other projects. So I really need any kind of support that I can get with that. So that's patreon.com/Afterlife Topics. And you can check out the Facebook group Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, or you can check out the website afterlifetopics.com. This is Cyrus, and let me know what you think in the comments down below about this concept, because this is Afterlife Topics, where I bring up topics like this, and then it's your guys' job to carry it away and talk about it. Until next time, this is Cyrus.